Hey everyone, this is Wajat Ali, guest hosting for Mary Trump. Mary Trump had to take the day off, but don't worry, she'll be back on Monday. But until then, I'm Brown Mary. And folks, the big wheel keeps on turning and Proud Mary keeps on burning. We're going to be rolling all over Donald Trump because he had a disastrous day. Do you feel great again? Probably not, because some of the worst numbers the stock market has posted in months on Donald Trump's watch. Measles has gone up, prices of eggs are up, job numbers are terrible. So what does Donald Trump do? Distract. Like a good fascist, he's trying to rewrite history. He's trying to remove all the competent government individuals who want to tell you the truth and replace them with reeks. And while he's doing it, he's given Gillian Maxwell, the partner in crime of Jeffrey Epstein, a pedophile, a sweetheart deal right in front of our eyes, a major cover-up, because she's being transferred all the way from Florida to a minimum security camp in Texas. Why, folks? Why? And furthermore, the cruelty doesn't stop. Even though Donald Trump is flagging in the ratings, we now know that these poor folks, these immigrants, these brown men who were sent to CECOT, they're coming back, folks, and they are telling their stories of torture, of assault, and rape. Folks, it's a lot to uncover, but we got you covered. And today, let's go against fascists. Let's actually take out a fascist on a Friday. It ain't Taco Tuesday. It's take out a fascist on a Friday. Let's dive into it. Taco Monday, Taco Tuesday, Taco Wednesday, Taco Thursday, Taco Friday, Taco Saturday, Taco Sunday. Every day is Taco Day for Donald Trump because Trump always chickens out. Remember his trade wars? Remember all the deals? Yeah, we're still waiting for it, folks. Today is August 1st, and it marks Donald's trade deal deadline. And let's just say today, he woke up with his cankles to some not so bueno news. As a matter of fact, he woke up and the country woke up to some terrible news. Don't take my word for it. Just take a look at CBS News' coverage. Lexi, please.
Now, we start with breaking news. The new jobs report and the president's tariffs are dragging down U.S. markets at this moment. The July jobs report you see right next to me, this just came out moments ago, and it's weaker than expected. You have just 73,000 jobs added last month. But more concerning, the numbers for the previous 2 months have just been revised down by more than 200,000. So this is not encouraging economic information, and it comes as the president's new tariff plan is impacting more than 60 trading partners, including some that have already cut trade deals or at least frameworks. CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady is making sense of all of this and explaining it to us in very straightforward ways, which we so appreciate. So Kelly, help us understand this jobs report, why its numbers and the revision downward from a previous report is discouraging.
So this gives us a sense that the labor market is slowing down significantly, right? I mean, that number coming in less than 100,000, which was where most analysts expected the July jobs report number to come in, was already concerning. But as you mentioned, we had revisions down to May and June as well, to the tune of over 200,000 jobs. And what that tells you is the significant slowdown is not just a July thing. This has been happening for the past few months. And really what made me nervous was in that June revision, when you look at it all together, it showed that the private sector, right, so not government, everything else, added only 3,000 jobs in June.
So, what a shocking surprise. A man who has declared bankruptcy 6 times, a man who has bankrupted 2 casinos, a man who has somehow squandered his rich daddy's $400 million, a man during his first presidency had catastrophic ratings and also tanked the economy during a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. Once he was reelected, voila, the economy is doing terrible. As the market saw the red flag, they went red themselves. As the New York Times put it, stock market posts worst week in months on renewed economic fears. The S&P 500, folks, it was just reported, closed the day down 1.6 percentage points, capping off one of the worst weeks since Donald first announced the tariffs, the tariffs back in April, the tariffs, the trade wars. Yeah, he still doesn't understand that tariffs are taxes that we have to pay that increase the prices of everything. But of course, this is Donald Trump. And I believe UPenn, Wharton School, should give him a refund because clearly this mother effer is the worst graduate of Wharton of all time. The labor report, facts, data, numbers, rattled Donald, who wants you to live in his fictional reality. And in true Donald Trump fashion, and I should say true authoritarian fashion, because what we're about to mention, folks, is what happens in authoritarian regimes. Instead of accepting responsibility, instead of confronting these dire numbers that might, signal a recession, what does he do? He goes down to his broke down social media site and he just starts firing people. Literally. Let's just read it. I was just informed that our country's job numbers, I have no idea what job numbers are in quotes, but so be it, are being produced by a Biden appointee, Dr. Erica McAnterfer, the Commissioner of Labor Statistics, who faked the jobs numbers before the election to try and boost Kamala's chance of victory. We need accurate job numbers. I have directed my team to fire this Biden political appointee immediately. She will replace with someone much more competent and qualified. Important numbers like this must be fair and accurate. They can't be manipulated for political purposes. This man projects. It's pure projection. He can't help it, folks. I'm going to read that line one more time. She will replace with someone much more competent and qualified. Important numbers like this must be fair and accurate. They can't be manipulated for political purposes. The economy is booming under Trump. Again, he quotes himself. Why? I don't know. Despite a Fed that also plays games, this time with interest rates, where they lowered them twice and substantially just before the presidential election, I assume in the hopes of getting Kamala, again, why is it in quotes? I have no idea, elected. How did that work out? Jerome, too late Powell, should also be put out to pasture in quotes. He has tried to get rid of Jerome Powell. He has said, who's the person who appointed Jerome Powell? And people said, you did. Folks, so now everything is fake. Anything he doesn't like is fake. It's fake news. The job report, which actually uses data, that's fake. The Fed is rigged because the economy is not doing well. Everything is a conspiracy. The Epstein conspiracy, the Epstein files that he ran on, now that's a hoax. He won the 2020 election that he lost. Anyone who disagrees with him was part of the deep state, because this doesn't fit into his deranged reality, right? And his fictional world that he wants you to believe and live in which he is king and God, and everything that he does is amazing, and he has the Midas touch. And if anything goes wrong, it's someone else's fault. It's the Department of Labor. It's the corporate media, the fake news, the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, whom he appointed, right? The Bureau of Labor Statistics that just shows the data. All these folks are wrong because they're saying the same thing. His policies are failing, folks. His policies are failing. The economy is not doing well. Maybe, just maybe, if we, elect a criminal who is liable for sexual assault and defamation, and who has been liable for fraud, and who has gone bankrupt 6 times, and who already effed up during his first term, maybe he'd be a terrible second president, folks, who will F up the economy again. But this is America. We live in the United States of amnesia, and we forget Donald Trump, his track records, his actions, his behavior, his rhetorics, and he made good on his social media tantrum. Folks, the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, her name, I want to pronounce it, McAnterfer, was fired this afternoon. He actually did it. He fired this lady simply because the Bureau of Labor Statistics literally just gave us the factual information that job growth was extremely weak, and he wants to gaslight us in real time, folks. He wants to gaslight us in real time. And the reason why this is so dangerous is another big piece of news, and I'm sure Mary talked about yesterday, I believe. Yesterday, the Smithsonian, a museum in the nation's capital, bent the knee to Donald Trump, much like CBS News and ABC News and corporate lawyers and Harvard now and Columbia University and Brown University. And Smithsonian Museum has now changed their exhibit. Now, there's not 4 presidents who were impeached. Now it says there were only 3, because Donald Trump didn't like the fact that they mentioned he is twice impeached. He holds the record for being the president who has been most impeached, Donald Trump. So now the Smithsonian is rewriting history to placate Donald Trump's ego. Where has this happened before, folks? In authoritarian regimes. I want to remind you, George Orwell wrote in 1984 a dystopian novel in which a totalitarian government, Big Brother, rules and controls through fear and through banning banning books and rewriting history. The final, most essential command of the party was not to trust the evidence of your eyes and your ears. The final, most essential command. He is gaslighting us in real time. This is why the truth matters, folks. This is why you have to remind everyone, Donald Trump, twice impeached, regardless of what the Smithsonian says. Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, regardless of what 80% of Republican voters now believe. And Donald Trump just fired the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because they used the data to show what we all knew is that the economy, folks, it's in trouble. The job growth was deeply troubling, right? And this is the private sector. And we haven't even talked about the government because thanks to Doge and Elon Musk, they have dismantled agencies like the Department of Education, USAID. They're firing veterans, they're firing doctors and scientists. And the big, beautiful bill from hell, folks, he is negative 25 on that. He's negative 44 with independence. And it's going to take $1 trillion out of Medicaid, but adds $180 billion to ICE and gives permanent tax cuts to the rich by adding $3.3 trillion to the debt. Do you feel better? But of course, we want to live in Earth 3, where Donald Trump's economy is allegedly booming. And we also want to live in Earth 3, where apparently Donald Trump wants you to believe that Jeffrey Epstein, the man that he partied with since the late 80s, he had nothing to do with them. Oh, you know, they just once in a while just met at cocktail parties. And he also wants you to believe that the Epstein files and the Epstein scandal that Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi and Donald Trump and MAGA promoted for 10 years to promote the QAnon conspiracy that said that everyone who opposed Donald Trump was part of a liberal, deep state, international conspiracy in which we worship the devil and molest and kill children. I'm not making that up. That conspiracy that animated his base, that conspiracy that helped him get elected because he said, I'm the only one that can take on the deep state. Now he's saying it's an Epstein hoax created by Obama and Clinton. And don't worry about it. Just don't pay attention anymore. And anyone who believes it, it's buying the bullshit. And now he's going against his own followers, calling him past followers. But guess what, folks? The ghost of Epstein continues to haunt Donald Trump. And no matter how much he tries, he can't escape it. And what we're witnessing right now, folks, in real time, I think is very important. We're witnessing a cover-up. This is one of the biggest cover-ups we have seen in real time. I just want to give you a quick timeline. According to the Wall Street Journal, that flaming communist woke rag run by that leftist Rupert Murdoch, that Wall Street Journal that has dropped 3 articles on the Epstein-Trump connection, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, told Donald Trump back in May that he was mentioned in these Epstein documents and files. That means that Donald Trump has been lying to the American public because ABC News asked him and he said, oh yeah, she didn't tell me anything. She didn't say my name was in it. That means they've been lying since May. They've been covering it up, folks, right? And then we found out, he says, oh, I barely knew him. And we have Michael Wolff's tape, Michael Wolff, the journalist whom Epstein talked to. And we have the audio recording where Epstein said he was Donald Trump's closest friend, right, for years. Earlier this week, folks, he was given 2 opportunities to in some way, shape, or form be empathetic to all the victims. I want to remind people, Epstein and his cabal of predators preyed on girls for decades. Virginia Giuffre was 16 years old, a spa attendant at Mar-a-Lago because her dad worked as a manager at Mar-a-Lago for Donald Trump. So she was just doing a job, 16 years old. And Gillian Maxwell was at Mar-a-Lago. So yeah, Gillian and Trump go way back as well. And she poached, groomed, stalked, stole, not my words, stole, Donald Trump's words, Gillian Maxwell, lied to her. And then Gillian Maxwell said that for the next 2 years, she was only 16, she was passed around like, quote, a platter of fruit to Epstein and other men. She also said that Prince Andrew molested her, right? And Virginia Giuffre was, folks, she died in April by suicide. That means from the age of 16 to 41, she has suffered. Other people, other women, who are alive say that Ghislaine Maxwell was perhaps even worse than Epstein because they trusted Ghislaine Maxwell and she stalked them, preyed on them, groomed them. In the case of the farmer sister, actually molested them with Jeffrey Epstein. That Ghislaine Maxwell, folks, that Ghislaine Maxwell is in the news today. And that Ghislaine Maxwell, I want to jump for a second before I talk about the redaction. That Ghislaine Maxwell, and I'm talking to Lexi right now, DJ Lexi, who's with me right now. That Ghislaine Maxwell today, folks, who is serving a 20-year prison sentence in Florida, just randomly, folks, today, that Ghislaine Maxwell, we were told, is moving to a minimum security camp. Club Fed, right? She is going to Club Fed for no reason. Again, folks, there's literally no reason for this to happen. And Ghislaine Maxwell is going to this minimum security camp in Texas. And our friend Allison from Mueller, She Wrote reported this, and now it got confirmed that her, if you will, the prison sex offender, that the status of sex offender, someone had to waive Ghislaine Maxwell's sex offender status to move her to a minimum security camp, right? You just can't move someone with that type of status to a camp. So that means someone had to waive her sex offender status so that she could be transferred from Florida all the way to Texas. Now, for those who don't connect the dots, Todd Blanche, Donald Trump's personal attorney, right, met with Ghislaine Maxwell under secrecy for 2 days. We don't know what was discussed. After those 2 days meeting, Ghislaine Maxwell's attorneys publicly appealed to Donald Trump and the Supreme Court, calling Ghislaine Maxwell, you know, the woman who groomed, stalked, preyed on, and also molested these girls with Epstein, a victim. All right. Ghislaine Maxwell's team says she won't say anything unless, you know, she gets a type of quid pro quo, commutation. And voila, lo and behold, this woman who was a predator, who worked with Epstein, this Trump administration, and this is a question all y'all should be asking. I thought you were against the deep state. I thought you were all against pedophiles. I think you're all against crime. Why did you just give a sweetheart deal to Ghislaine Maxwell, who for no reason just got transferred to a minimum security camp? And the reason, folks, is the quid pro quo. And my take on this is I will not be surprised in the next week if Ghislaine Maxwell says the following. Donald Trump, he just used to party with Epstein in the 90s. But you know who went to the islands? And you're going to hear some liberal names and some Democrats. And then you're going to see a commutation or a pardoning, or you're going to see Ghislaine Maxwell go to witness protection program. You all think this is crazy? This is happening in real time. Look at the evidence in front of you. Trust your eyes, trust your ears. Political reports that according to the Bureau of Prisons, the type of facility to which Maxwell has been moved has dormitory housing, a relatively low staff to inmate ratio, and limited or no perimeter fencing, as opposed to double fence perimeters of the type of low security prison where she had been housed. This move comes along with reports that Ghislaine was not technically eligible to be transferred to such a minimum security camp. Again, according to the Bureau of Prisons' own designated policy, convicted sex offenders such as Maxwell must be at least in a low-level security prison unless they receive a waiver from the Bureau of Prisons Designation and Sentence Computation Center. Again, who waived her and why? We still don't know. The move comes as the Justice Department has been in talks with Maxwell and her lawyer, and rumors swirl. And folks, this is also important. Donald Trump has been asked several times this week, will you pardon Ghislaine Maxwell? I would assume that, you know, for your base, you would say, of course not. I will not pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, a supervillain who, along with Jeffrey Epstein, helped stalk, prey, and groom and molest young girls. I would never, ever, ever pardon her. What did Donald Trump say? He didn't rule it out, folks. He didn't rule it out. He goes, I've been told I have the power to do that. Yeah, I've heard about that. That's what he said. That's another tell. That's another tell. And before we move on and talk about Donald Trump, again, I want to talk about the victims. Never forget, folks, there were girls over decades, hundreds of victims. Imagine the girls, the victims and their families, what they must be feeling right now when they see Ghislaine Maxwell, who they said, many of them said, the farmer sister said, even worse than Epstein in some cases, more evil, because they trusted her. The fact that she is openly talking to Todd Blanche and the Donald Trump department, and then she just got moved to a cushy Club Fed. Imagine how they must be feeling. Well, Virginia Giuffre's family yesterday, folks, just listen to them. Listen to the pain in their voices. This was CBS's coverage. Lexi, play that clip.
We were shocked by it, especially to use the term stolen, because she's not an object. She's a person.
The president hasn't ruled out a pardon for Maxwell, a possibility Giuffre's family blasted.
The word that comes to mind is it would be an abomination.
On Thursday, the president again faced questions about his claim Epstein stole Giuffre from him.
I said, if he's taking anybody from Mar-a-Lago, he's hiring or whatever he's doing. I didn't like it, and we threw him out.
While Giuffre's family said before she died, Giuffre pushed for all the documents in Epstein's case to be released.
She wanted the world to know what they've done to her and so many other survivors, and she had been fighting that to her very last day.
So I want to remind folks, because I know this can be overwhelming, the timeline. Trump was in Scotland meeting Keir Starmer. They asked him about this. His breakup with Epstein. He said it was because, he poached some workers from me. The next day, they asked him a follow-up where he said, he stole workers from me. Who was he referring to? 16-year-old Virginia Giuffre, a spa attendant, who was stalked on, preyed on, and groomed and stolen, apparently, Donald Trump's words, by Gillian Maxwell. To this day, this week, he had multiple opportunities to be empathetic, to be decent, to talk about the victims. Didn't do it. Then, this was last night. CBS News contacts the family members of Virginia Giuffre, who, again, folks, died in April. Clearly, look at the trauma and the pain. And the next day, today, those family members have to sit here and read the headlines like we all did, that Ghislaine Maxwell, who stalked, preyed upon, and groomed their sister, Virginia Giuffre, is now being moved to a minimum security camp in Texas, which is setting up, folks, what we all know is going to be the quid pro quo, where she's going to say, Donald Trump, he wasn't that bad, but you know who was really bad? Bill Clinton. And you fill in the blanks. Imagine their pain. And I just want to sit with that for a second, folks. Breaking news update. The scheduled congressional deposition of Ghislaine Maxwell is indefinitely postponed, according to House Oversight Chair James Comer, who is a MAGA, reek, and Trump acolyte. Shocking. Who would have thought that? We've been saying it for a while because Comer is the oversight chair. In a letter to Maxwell, Comer said he would agree to delay the meetings after her lawyers requested a postponement, citing a pending Supreme Court petition regarding her case. It should boil your blood. Folks, I said it before. These are my words. This is a cover-up done by the world's most incompetent, reckless people. They're not being subtle about it. It's happening in real time in front of your face. And Donald Trump, folks, is all up in these files. Again, Pam Bondi, according to the Wall Street Journal, said that she informed Donald Trump he was mentioned in these documents and files back in May. Well, Bloomberg earlier today reported something that we have suspected for a long time, and Allison, our friend in Mueller, she wrote, actually first broke the story with her sources, that the FBI was ordered to redact Donald Trump's name from the Epstein files. Back in March, the Bureau quietly instructed roughly 1,000 agents to flag any mention of Donald Trump while reviewing hundreds of thousands of pages in these Epstein-related materials and documents. Donald Trump's name, along with other, quote, prominent individuals, was removed before the public release. Meanwhile, the DOJ still claims there's no client list, no evidence of wrongdoing, but Trump's name appears in Epstein's contact book. He shows up on the flight logs. We have the video of them partying. We know that Donald Trump praised him even in 2002. Epstein, great guy. He likes the girls who are a bit young. We've seen his name in that book that Ghislaine, handed Epstein for his 50th birthday, right? So if there's nothing to hide, why the redactions? Why the silence? How come you just don't release the files? And furthermore, another piece of news that's come out as of yesterday, there's apparently a mysterious third person in the video, and the person's wearing orange. And CBS News has reported that they have a high-level government source that says that the video that shows Epstein dying allegedly by suicide, and as you have been following, Pam Bondi says, well, there's a minute missing. The Wired says there's 2 minutes and 50 seconds missing. CBS News is saying that a government source is telling them that the Trump administration has access and a copy of the full unedited video. So I'm just saying, folks, if you got nothing to hide, you got nothing to lose by releasing the video, releasing the files, why not release it? And the more and more they're engaged in this cover-up, and folks, it's a cover-up. Just trust the evidence of your own eyes and your own ears. That's all I'm asking you. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Everything we've said so far is fact, and we've told you all of our sources. If they got nothing to hide, just release it, folks. Just release it. More questions than answers. And this is the behavior of a man who desperately does not want you to know about his deep connections to Epstein and is desperately trying to distract. None of the distractions are working. And before we move on to our next story, I want to remind everyone, there is no reason for Gillian Maxwell to be transferred to a minimum security camp in Texas. The reason why it's happening, the only reason why it's happening, is because, again, Todd Blanche, who's a deputy attorney general, who was formerly Donald Trump's attorney, met with her for 2 days. We still don't know what was discussed, but we do know after the meeting, her lawyers have been publicly appealing to both the Supreme Court and Donald Trump for the victim. They call her a victim, a commutation pardoning of her sentence. Folks, this is what's happening in real time. And as Donald Trump is trying to distract from us and construct a fictitious reality, this is why facts matter, and this is why the truths matter. And this is why stories matter. You have to keep these stories, especially of these women, these girls, in the forefront of your mind, because these girls were victims and these girls were forgotten for decades, folks. These girls were forgotten. And Virginia Giuffre's family has not forgotten, and the Farmer sisters and those who have survived have not forgotten, folks. And also, some of the victims that I want you all to remember, and I wanted to take a moment to spotlight this story because it hasn't received nearly enough attention because there's been like 18 crises. We just mentioned like 4 of them, but also exposes how the vulnerable and the marginalized are forgotten and erased, and how the vulnerable and the marginalized are preyed upon by this Trump administration and Stephen Miller and Russell Vaught and Elon Musk to drive the culture war, right? To drive their fascist agenda. I want to talk about the brutal nativist and racist immigration policies of Donald Trump and Stephen Miller. I know Mary touched upon this in a video we have linked in the show description, but since its release, much more information has surfaced, specifically more testimonies from the men who were released from CECOT. Oh, you know, that infamous El Salvadoran prison run by the worst Palestinian on earth, Bukele, the crypto bro, who took $6 million of our taxpayer dollars to house these innocent brown men who were kidnapped and renditioned to CECOT to essentially die there forever. People like Kilmar Abrego Garcia, an innocent man who was legally here, who was one of the 230 plus people kidnapped, whom Trump administration and I said was sent there wrongly. But this administration is so cruel that they try to make up excuses after the fact and demonize him. Those men. Some of those men are coming back. Some of those men who were illegally deported under his cruel deportation program to die forever in CECOT without due process. Some of those people have come back and they're talking about their treatment. They're talking about what happened to them at CECOT. They were talking about what happened to them in Bukele's prison. And before we go any further, I want to really give a trigger warning because this segment is going to include descriptions of abuse, of sexual abuse. It's something, if you need to step away from it, I get it, step away and come back. But we have to talk about it, folks, because these men suffered. And this happened under the Trump administration. They lied to the American public. They created emergencies. Stephen Miller defied the Supreme Court. They defied federal judges. They kidnapped these innocent men, where Bloomberg and others, 60 Minutes, did a background on all these men. 90% of them have never even been arrested, no criminal record. They kidnapped them and sent them without due process to be tortured at CECOT. And our taxpayer dollars, $6 million, went to Bukele to torture these men. On July 18th, several of these Venezuelan migrants were freed from CECOT as part of a prisoner exchange between the U.S. and Venezuela. Since their release, some of them have begun to speak out, and the picture they paint our worst fears, folks, are literally our worst fears. Through interviews with The Atlantic, Washington Post, and ProPublica, we have now firsthand accounts of what these men had to endure for no reason. They were innocent for no reason, just to satiate the cruelty of Stephen Miller, Trump, and a white supremacist agenda. We're talking about shackles that were so tight that they cut into the skin, shower cells riddled with mold, men forced to sleep on bare iron beds, beatings that were so severe they left prisoners vomiting blood or unable to walk. One man told the Washington Post that guards laughed and said, quote, "Let's hit him like a piñata," as they beat him senseless. While some might discuss these reports as fake news or, ignore them entirely, ProPublica further published an on-record interview with three of the men, Juan Jose Ramos, Andy Blanco Bonilla, and Wilmer Vega Sandy. And folks, just sit with this. Listen to them. Here's the clip.
Yo me quise bañar escondido y me vieron, pues. Me sacaron al pozo, a la isla, y me empezaron a golpear. Y un oficial me pegaba, o sea, a los oídos como para que yo me escandalizara. Y luego en la sien, ¿sabes? Aquí. Me empezaron a dar muchos golpes, como por 2 horas. Entraba todos los oficiales que estaban de guardia a pegarte. Incluso muchas veces fue el mismo director del penal a pegarte. Yo no veo mucho por un ojo, pues de tanto que me pegaban en la cabeza.
Te llevaban a una celda de castigo, el hueco se llamaba eso. Recibo un golpe en mis partes íntimas, como diría, de una patada que me dieron, y aún estoy padeciendo de eso. El 5 de abril hubo una golpiza muy grande, donde golpean a uno de los compañeros, que es un niño, deciden echarle gas pimienta entre la boca y él empieza a convulsionar en el piso. Él botaba espuma por la boca. Nos dijeron que el muchacho había muerto y ahí, gracias a Dios, está con vida. Regresó con nosotros. Cuando viene la Cruz Roja la primera vez, nosotros hablamos, pero el hablar nos costó una gran paliza.
Hicieron uso de las armas, donde usaron perdigones de gomas y de plástico, donde resultaron muchos heridos. Heridos en la cabeza, en la frente, en las piernas, en la espalda, en el pecho.
Tuvieron muchísimos que intentamos quitarnos la vida allá adentro. Decíamos, yo prefiero morirme o suicidarme yo que seguir viviendo esta experiencia. Que todos los días te levantaran a las 4 de la mañana para decirte groserías, para golpearte. Por seguir escuchando las rejas a tus hermanos como los golpeaban, que muchas veces pedían auxilio, pedían que ya, no me pegues más, prefiero que me mate.
Words matter, folks. Stories matter. Truth matters. And the reason why words matter, and the reason why I don't use words like illegal alien, is because they dehumanize people. I went to Poland, I went to Auschwitz, I visited, and I remember this was during the first Trump administration. We were just talking about the first Trump administration dehumanizing language against immigrants, against Muslims. One of the people who was there, a tour guide, who volunteers this time, he leaned in. He goes, I can't help but hear what you were all saying. And he says, that's how it begins, right? We're like, what? Well, that's how genocide begins. It's through dehumanization, through language. And these, it's important. We oftentimes just call them immigrants, migrants from, Venezuela. And that's also, it can lump them in. And you can forget that these are men with names, with lives, with families, with hopes and dreams. And it's important to name them. And I want to name one individual in particular. One individual who was taken, André Hernandez Romero, the 32-year-old gay asylum seeker from Venezuela, who told NBC News that one day during his imprisonment, he was taken to solitary confinement, where prison staff, quote, made me kneel, perform oral sex on one person, while the others groped me and touched my private parts and stroked me with their batons. He said he could not identify the guards because their faces were covered and the room did not have a light bulb, with only a small amount of light coming in through a hole in the ceiling. Hernandez said the incident left him devastated. And there's a through line, folks. There's a through line. These victims of Epstein, they were dehumanized by the president of the United States earlier this week. He literally said, Epstein stole them from me. Stole. As if Virginia Giuffre was a piece of property. Virginia Giuffre has said that she was passed around, quote, like a platter of fruit, completely dehumanized. They're human beings. They were girls. They had stories. They had hopes. They had dreams. We saw the marginalization and the dehumanization of transgender people, the erasure of transgender people from our history books. It's happening right now from our government sites. These are people. We saw the dehumanization of pro-Palestinian students. Right? Mahmoud Khalil was called Hamas without any proof. Mahmoud Khalil, Rumeza Ozturk, so many of these individuals. Badr Khan Suri, who's not even Palestinian, married to a Palestinian woman, illegally detained and sent to Louisiana away from their family, completely dehumanized. And we now saw it happening to legal immigrants who were here. And so, folks, it's important, as Donald Trump is trying to gaslight us by removing the facts from the Smithsonian. He is twice impeached. If the Smithsonian is going to bend the knee, you and I don't have to. We can tell everyone and remind everyone, twice impeached President Donald Trump, twice impeached. And if Donald Trump is trying to remove, we already did remove the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because she didn't provide him with fiction and instead gave you the facts and the truth about the terrible state of the economy and job growth. Our job is to remind everyone that this mother effort is a six-time bankruptcy, did bankruptcy 6 times, bankrupted casinos, completely effed up the economy in the first administration. And because he didn't want the truth out, is now firing this new commissioner, this poor woman. It's our job to tell people the truth. And it's our job to tell people that Gillian Maxwell is no victim. Gillian Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein were complicit in one of the worst sex trafficking scandals we've seen in our life, that the cover-up is happening as we speak. It runs deep. And a person who was in the mix, based on all the evidence that we know, was Donald Trump. The truth matters. These stories matter. These people matter. These girls matter. These immigrants matter. All these people who have been attacked and erased by Donald Trump and MAGA and their cruelty, they will not be erased because they are alive, and they need people like us to share their story. I hope you do not mind my rant. I just had to get that off my chest. There was a lot today. I know it's heavy. So we're gonna, not go longer than we usually do. We're gonna keep it at 40 minutes. But before we take some questions from any of you, if you have any questions, I'm here for a couple minutes and give some shout outs to our super chatters. We need to give you some release, and it's okay to have some release. And we call it the emotional support moment. A lot of difficult stories today, folks. A lot of difficult stories as the President of the United States and his MAGA cult is literally trying to gaslight us, and lie to our faces in order to cover up crimes and brutality and child abuse. But we're independent media. We don't let that shit slide. Like I said, today, this Friday, let's go after fascists. And let's also take a moment to breathe. And so for our moment of Zen today, for our emotional support, I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds just to decompress with me. Enjoy the beautiful sights and sounds of this wave crashing off the Hawaiian coast. And breathe. Lexi is my DJ. She was with me today. Thank you to Lexi. Give it props to Lexi. Lexi, let's give a shout out to some of our super chatters, some of these friends of ours who have given us tips. Folks, it's independent media. We depend on the kindness of strangers like Blanche Dubois. We don't bend the knee to any corporate entity. We say the truth unfiltered and raw. I'm stepping in for Mary Trump. Don't worry, Mary Trump will be back. You can call me Brown Mary until then. Nobody can replace Mary, but I try my best, folks. Look, the stock market's crashing. Everything's going bad. The bar is freaking low, right? But so just have some faith in me, and don't worry, Mary will be back. But folks, we have about 7,000 people in total watching. It's fantastic. If you're not a subscriber to Mary Trump's YouTube channel, it started like all channels do with 0. Once she hit 50, I remember she was so excited. Once she hit 100, she was like, that's fantastic. And now she's about to hit 450,000. So let's get her to 450,000. If you're not a subscriber, ring the bell, become a subscriber. You'll be notified each time she goes live. And she does this live show every day, every weekday with Lexi or Mercedes, 6 p.m. Eastern time. And folks, also subscribe to Mary Trump's Substack. And furthermore, once this video is out there, please, oh, please like it. I know it sounds silly, but it goes a long way. And share it. Share it on the Twitter. I refuse to call it X. Share it on Blue Sky. Share it on Threads. The algorithm monster loves gobbling this up, and more people see this. More people get independent media. More people see the truth. Unlike the Smithsonian, unlike CBS, unlike Harvard, we will not bend the knee. Donald Trump is a twice impeached vulgarian who was indicted for fraud and sexual assault and defamation against E. Jean Carroll. His job report, yes, it's his job report, because Republicans have the House, they have the Senate, they have the media, they have the Supreme Court. It is Donald Trump who's president. It was a disastrous job report, folks. It was so bad that the stock market posted its worst week in months on renewed economic fears. Regardless of who he tries to fire, he will not gaslight us. And yes, oh yes, he was very close to Jeffrey Epstein. How close? Well, if he were to release the evidence and the documents and the files, we would know. So we got to keep the pressure up on them. Lexi, let's highlight some of the super chatters today. Let's give them a shout out. Whoa, Jimmy, $100. Look at you, Jimmy. Thank you so much. That is awesome. I will take $2 of those dollars and buy myself a candy. In the middle of nowhere, $50. Awesome. Thank you so much. $5 even. Elizabeth Brown Mary, thank you. You have great taste. Susan doesn't sleep. Susan is one of the best mods in the business. She comes on my show, Mary's show, Danielle's show. She is awesome. Thank you so much. Lizzie Beth, hello, Waj. I'd say glad to see you, but it probably means Pale Mary isn't well. She'll be back, folks. Don't worry. She works herself to a tizzy sometimes. Dodie, $5. What do you think about the possibility that Trump keeps postponing tariffs to stay in the news rather than just taco? Yes. He's been punting. This man has no plans. And furthermore, folks, I will share with you, this is just my thoughts. I try to bring the receipts. Rupert Murdoch, I said this before, and I said this when I was hosting Mary's show, I think on Monday or was last week. Last week, I said he was sharpening the knives against Donald Trump. I'm going to edit that and say the knives are sharpened, and now he's in a stabby motion. Because Rupert Murdoch is the one dropping these bombs on the Wall Street Journal. And who met Rupert Murdoch right before the first article dropped? Anyone take a guess? J.D. Vance. So I think they realize that, you know what? We've used Donald Trump for the big beautiful bill from hell. And we got the Genius Act that helps crypto. And we got what we needed from him. We got the Supreme Court, we got the House, we got the Senate, we got Doge in there. Doge is still operating, by the way, right? We got all people's data. We dismantled enough of the government. We don't need him anymore. And also, he's not looking that good, folks. The cankles. And did you notice he lashed out on against Josh Hawley because he misinterpreted what Josh Hawley was saying? And so he lashed out against Hawley, and what he perceived was what he was trying to bring up. So he's not altogether there. So I think, folks, they ain't waiting until 2028. I think they are weakening Donald Trump in real time. And they realized, much like Elon Musk did June 5th, when he posted that tweet about Donald Trump being in the Epstein files, they realized that the Epstein files is his kryptonite. That's my take on it. Nikki Oliver, $5. Thank you so much, Nikki. And then we got a whole bunch of other folks who've come in. Thank you, Kat Soul. You said you just started following me on Substack. I appreciate it. Folks, I'm going to let you go. It's 6:45. It's Friday. Please, if you can, become a subscriber to Mary Trump's YouTube channel. Become a subscriber to her Substack. I'm Wajahat Ali. I'm Brown Mary. I was just subbing in. Don't worry. Mary will be back. Folks who came in late, there's nearly 70,000 people watching. We're going to have this up on YouTube in about 2 minutes. Strongly recommend you watch the whole show. Lexi did some fantastic work. We showed you all the data, all the facts, all the evidence. Again, the final most essential command that Orwell said in 1984. The final most essential command of Big Brother was don't believe or trust the evidence of your eyes and your ears. Donald Trump yesterday made Smithsonian take out the fact that he is a twice impeached president. Today, he didn't like the fact that the Bureau of Labor Statistics showed the terrible job numbers, so he fired the commissioner. He doesn't like the fact that he lost the 2020 election, so he spins this yarn. And he doesn't like the fact that a majority of Americans will not move away from the Epstein scandal, which he now calls a hoax. So it is our job to remind everyone about the facts, the truths, and the stories. Folks, take care of yourselves, be empathetic, be kind, relax during this weekend, breathe. It's going to be a long walk. Thank you, Lexi, for being a DJ. Thank you for all the work. And please, oh please, folks, don't be a fascist. Take care.